Again, I get it. You got to sell your DLC. How you got to sell your DLC? Hopefully it doesn't bite them in the butt. Hopefully it all works out. We'll see. Welcome back to On the Sticks, where we provide you with the information you need so you can spend more time on the sticks. I'm Sticks, and today we'll be taking a look at the Outriders Worldslayer reveal event. A few months ago, we got the free update called New Horizons for Outriders. And last week, we finally got a reveal event for the Worldslayer update coming to the game on June 30th, I believe, June 30th. Yeah. And they said it is designed to be the supreme version of Outriders and has been developed with both new players and veterans in mind. While Worldslayer content does pick up after the events of Outriders, any player can start with Worldslayer content even before playing the Outriders content. Worldslayer will allow players to carry over their existing characters or create an entirely new level 30 character with direct access to Worldslayer content. It's a great time to bring friends on board who might have missed out Outriders the first time around, as you will all start Worldslayer on equal footing. And don't worry, thanks to the timeline, you can still go back and play Outriders content even if you start with Worldslayer. So I think it's kind of good and bad that you can just jump right into Worldslayer level 30 and jump right into the content. Like they said, it is a good way to get people to try it out that didn't play Outriders when it first came out. I know I have a couple of friends that didn't really get into it like they wanted to while I was really into it. So this would be a good chance for them to jump in with me and play it some. But at the same time, I kind of think it's, I don't want to say bad, but bad if a person can just jump into the Worldslayer content and they say you can still go back and play the original content. But to me, that's making it seem like the storyline doesn't really matter per se. You know, if you just jump into the DLC storyline, how do you know what led you up to that point in the story? You know what I mean? Unless they're just pretty much saying, yeah, the story from the original game, don't even worry about it. That doesn't even matter right here, which is very possible. I'm sure most people probably didn't care anything about the storyline playing Outriders. I'm trying to think. When I was playing through it, I don't think the story really mattered that much to me because I was more interested in the fact of just playing the game with my friends, getting loot, trying out new abilities, stuff like that, hanging out with the community, playing it on Twitch, because you guys know we was the #1 Outriders community in the galaxy at one point. So I don't know. Like I said, I feel like it's good and bad that you could just jump in and pick up right there with the DLC. I'm glad it gives people that option to do that. So I'm sure a lot of people will jump in at the DLC and just start from there. Hopefully they enjoy the DLC enough to want to go back and check out the original story as well and play through that. With it being on PC now, they will, yeah, I'm sure they will have, no, it's been on PC, right? What was it? It came to PC Game Pass, I think that's what it was. I think that was the latest thing with it, but with it being on Game Pass, I'm sure more people will check it out, or it might not even be on Game Pass anymore. I'm not sure, so don't quote me on that. But like I said, I'm sure there will be a lot of new players checking it out. So hopefully they enjoy it. So let's see what else they said they are adding in to this DLC. We got a new campaign, new enemies, and new environments. Outriders Worldslayer introduces a brand new standalone story campaign that you can jump into even if you haven't played the original story. The new campaign will focus on the Outriders facing up against the commander of the new human faction called the Insurgents against the backdrop of Enoch's climate undergoing cataclysmic changes. The commander of the new human faction may well be considered the first altered. I'm pretty sure we see a lot of them in the teaser and in the trailer they showed. So that's the new villain right there they showed off. Throughout Worldslayer, you will of course also be traveling to new locations. You can see footage from the Glacier's Edge and Driftwater environments and press coverage this week. Both are environments from relatively early on in the campaign. I do think the new environments look good, but trying to think, did we already have like an ice place or a snow place before? I can't remember. I don't think we did, but we might did. Let me know down below in the comments. Worldslayer will introduce new enemy variants as well as some entirely new adversaries and bosses. You may have spotted some of them in our spotlight already, and we do plan on showcasing more of them in the future via our social channels. So I'm glad we're also getting some new enemies. You know, that's like one of the biggest criticisms people have with like games like Destiny, when they get like their updates for new DLC, new content, it's just the same enemies over and over. Like, how many times can you fight the Vex? How many times can you fight the Cabal? Over and over, you know. All the Destiny fans know what I'm talking about. But yeah, glad to have some new enemy varieties in there, some new environments. And like I was saying earlier, with them having this new story campaign for us to go through, I'm wondering, does it really tie into the original story like that? I know when they first showed the first teaser, they made it seem like it was all very connected, but now I don't think so. Since it's a standalone story campaign, it might be, I don't know, slightly connected to it, but I don't think it's going to really matter that much. Next, we got new gear. Outriders Worldslayer will of course introduce a host of new gear, both in terms of weaponry and armor. Each class will be getting dedicated new 5-piece legendary armor sets. Worldslayer does also introduce a few new 3-piece legendary armor sets, which will be universally equipable by all classes. These will have their own set bonuses as well. Some previous legendary armor sets and mods will also be reworked as part of Worldslayer's launch. We'll talk more about these at or shortly before launch. Each new legendary gear piece introduced in Worldslayer also comes with a new mod. We're planning to show off some of the special gear you can obtain in Worldslayer on our social channels between now and launch. Make sure to follow us there if you're interested. Of course, new updates, got to get new armor, new guns, stuff like that. I know people will probably be hoping that the armor and stuff they already got, that they spent so much time getting and crafting and re-rolling, don't get messed up too much. But them saying some previous sets and mods will be reworked makes me feel like some builds will get messed up. Some stuff might get nerfed. Some stuff might lose mods. You never know. Guess we just have to wait and see as they give us more info how much the previous stuff is changed. But I'm happy to see more gear added to the game. I know a lot of people are always hoping for that. That was one thing I felt like could have kept the game going a bit longer than it did if they would have just added more loot, more gear and guns as time went on. But obviously they was probably saving it for the New Horizon update. I think they added some new gear in there, and obviously the Worldslayer update, you got to have some banging gear for this being such a big update. And I think they showed some in the trailer, and I want to say some of the armor did look pretty cool. I'm not too sure about any of the guns yet. I really didn't pay them any attention, but some of the armor that flashed by on the screen, you guys should see it at some point in the video, did look pretty cool. So I'm interested to see what these new armor sets look like and what new perks and mods and crazy stuff like that they have attached to them. One of the most exciting things they showed was the new PAX class trees. Outriders Worldslayer introduces a new class tree, the PAX tree. The PAX tree is a separate class tree from the existing 3 branches you're familiar with, and it requires its own PAX points to activate nodes within it. PAX points are acquired at certain points in Worldslayer that are based on general progress rather than a specific level grind. The PAX tree itself is comprised of 2 branches of each class, though similar to the main skill tree. These are interlinked. Each node in the PAX tree is equivalent to the major nodes in the original class tree, so every choice you make in the PAX tree will be impactful to the performance of your Outrider. Just like the main skill tree, the PAX tree can be freely respect. The idea behind the PAX tree is to allow players to either build specialize further into a specific direction or to enable hybrid builds. The branches of the PAX tree are called, for the Pyromancer, you get Gunblazer and Pyromaniac, Technomancer, the Desolator and the Overseer, Devastator, Wrecker and Tectonic Shifter, Trickster, Spectre, and Exploiter. The PAX tree will unlock at level 30 after you start playing the Worldslayer campaign. So, like I said, that's great news. We get 2 new skill trees for each class. Hopefully the Devastator gets shown some extra love here. You know, originally in the game, the Devastator was the weakest class just because it didn't have one of the bullet based abilities that a lot of people were running to do massive damage to enemies and bosses and to clear the in-game content the quickest. But you know, they already reworked the in-game stuff, so they kind of helped out the Devastator a little bit. But I'm hoping one of these Devastator classes is like super OP at the start and they have to nerf it because it's just too good. But I'm glad they're giving us more freedom with how we want to spec out our characters, what kind of builds we want to make. If we want to become more specialized in a certain thing for the build, you know, most of the time people just end up running the same builds that they see online anyway. But at least this would give people more freedom to create more different builds. So I'm looking forward to seeing this, and I don't know how I feel so far about it being based upon your progress to a specific point in the story progression compared to getting to a certain level. I don't know. I guess I can kind of understand them doing it that way. They want it to have some kind of meaning with what you're doing in the DLC, I guess, to make it make sense instead of you just grinding out levels and getting these new abilities. I guess it's going to tie in. I assume it's going to tie in some kind of meaningful way, but we just have to wait and see. For all we know, it's going to be just get to this mission and you get a point. Get to that mission, you get a point. Might not be anything significant in the story. You know, like I said, we just have to wait and see. And then they went on to discuss the new Ascension System, which I believe is probably going to be what really keeps people playing if it's done correctly. It's definitely something I feel like they've taken from other games as a service titles, even though this isn't supposed to be considered a games as a service title. But it's definitely the vibes I'm getting from this system right here. Think of the light system in Destiny. I'm not sure of another game off the top of my head that's really done it. I just can think of Destiny because I put a lot of time in on Destiny 1. But think of the light system in Destiny. Outriders Worldslayer introduces a new long-term progression system called Ascension. The idea of Ascension is to give your continued play an ongoing next level to work towards alongside regular play. Continued Ascension by itself does not unlock or gate better gear or content. It is purely designed to make you stronger. The Ascension system is currently balanced so that it would take you 100+ hours to fully complete it. Leveling up Ascension is done by collecting XP from killing enemies. It is only available from character level 30 and onwards and with Worldslayer installed. So if you don't have Worldslayer, you're not getting the Ascension leveling up. So I guess that's one way they're trying to not force you, but force you to buy Worldslayer. So if you want the Ascension level system, you gotta hit level 30 and you gotta buy Worldslayer. XP earned after level 30 will go towards Ascension levels, which in turn provides you with Ascension points. You will be able to invest your Ascension points into any of the 4 Ascension categories: brutality, endurance, prowess, anomaly. Each of these categories have 5 options in which to invest. For example, you can invest your points to reduce your cooldowns, increase your life or resistance, or output more damage. Each option in each category have up to 10 Ascension points invested into it. You can reach level 200 Ascension in Worldslayer for a total of 200 Ascension points. At 200 Ascension points, you will have completely filled out each option in each category. You can mix and match where you invest your points, and you can always freely respect your Ascension points distribution. Like the newly introduced patch tree, Ascension is intended to allow players to either supercharge a specific build or to better create a hybrid build that works across multiple playstyles. So once again, here they go, trying to help us, you know, further specialize into one thing for our characters or create some kind of hybrid builds. And like I said, also giving us something more to do to keep us playing the game. Like that was one of the biggest problems with Outriders first launch. Like one of the problems, there was really nothing to do once you got to endgame and did those expeditions. It's like, okay, It wasn't really nothing else to go towards. That was it. At least if you have this right here, you don't feel like you just have to just get on and grind expeditions all day. You can do other stuff. Since it's based off XP, you can go do whatever and continue to feel like you have something you're growing towards. You know, these kind of games that encourage you to grind and get new gear and stuff like that, they need something like this to thrive, or your player's just gonna leave. Kind of sucks that you have to have the Worldslayer DLC to have this. You know, it would have been something good for everybody to get, but I understand you gotta sell your DLC, you gotta make your money. You know, and I'm sure they implemented this to test it out before they implement it into whatever game they're doing next. I feel like there most likely will be a Outriders 2 after the success the first Outriders had, which was very unexpected. According to them, they wasn't expecting it to be as successful as it was. I don't even think they were planning on doing DLC and updates and stuff like this, but the game did so well they had no choice, which is a good thing. But I'm pretty sure they're putting this in here now to figure out how they want to implement leveling and stuff in the next game. They're probably gonna look at this and keep what works and take out what doesn't work, probably retool some of the things about it, and have it at the start of the next game. The fact that it says it's gonna take hundreds of hours, 100+ hours to fully complete it, I'm sure there'll be some people who still find a way to fly through that and it not take them that long to fully complete it, but I hope it's worth completing. If you get those 200 points and don't feel like it haven't massively improved your build in some kind of way, that would suck. Let me know down in the comments below, what will you guys do with your 200 points? You gonna spread it out into multiple things, or you just gonna push it all into one thing so you can become OP in that one area with your character? Let me know down below in the comments. They also introduced the Apocalypse system and the 3rd mod slot. As a reminder, the tier systems in Outriders allow each player to fine-tune the difficulty of their game and their own needs. Higher tiers mean higher difficulty, but also improved rewards and the ability to equip higher level gear. Outriders Worldslayer introduces a new Apocalypse system that heavily impacts your max gear, equip level, and difficulty tier system, and most importantly, the loot. Challenge tiers are being replaced by Apocalypse tiers. This change will affect all versions of Outriders, even if you do not have Worldslayer installed. That's good to hear. You would get Apocalypse tiers even if you don't buy Worldslayer. You know, that was one of the things that sucked about the Ascension leveling. You only get that if you buy the DLC, so good to see that you get Apocalypse tiers no matter what. Apocalypse tiers will determine not just the difficulty and reward scaling of expeditions, but also all Worldslayer content, campaign, and endgame. Apocalypse tiers would go up to tier 40 and will act as a natural extension of world tiers, which do still remain in place for the original Outriders campaign. The original Outriders campaign can, however, be played using Apocalypse tiers instead, should you have Worldslayer installed. The max Apocalypse tier you can unlock by completing expedition content in the base game without Worldslayer installed is 15. So I guess you can do Apocalypse tiers without the DLC up to tier 15. If that's what I'm reading correctly, let me know down in the comments below. If you interpret it as something else, let me know. With Worldslayer installed, you can still play expeditions to continue unlocking higher Apocalypse tiers above tier 15. At Apocalypse tier 15, your max gear equip level will still be level 50 as it currently is. At Apocalypse tier 40, your max gear equip level will be level 75, which is the new gear level cap. So they're raising up the gear level cap to 75 from 50. When playing above a certain Apocalypse tier, there will be a chance for Apocalypse gear to drop. Apocalypse gear pieces are special variants of epic and legendary pieces in the game. Apocalypse gear pieces have 3 mod slots. Apocalypse gear can currently only be obtained through drops. It cannot be crafted. You can identify Apocalypse gear by a special icon when hovering over it. So I bet you can only get the Apocalypse gear if you're past tier 15, and you can only play past tier 15 if you actually have Worldslayer. I bet that's how it is. I'll be very surprised if it's not that way, but I'm betting your Apocalypse tier has to be pretty high for the gear, or at least higher than 15. Let me know what y'all think down below in the comments about that. Again, I get it. You got to sell your DLC how you got to sell your DLC. Hopefully it doesn't bite them in the butt. Hopefully it all works out. We'll see. New endgame. While Apocalypse tiers do cross over into Expeditions content, Outriders Worldslayer will actually be introducing its own dedicated endgame. An endgame that Worldslayer has actually been specifically designed around. The campaign in Worldslayer will take you to an ancient city of Tarya Gratar, the cradle of the Pax civilization, where the trial of Tarya Gratar awaits. That's about all the information we're ready to share regarding the endgame at this moment. Our next broadcast will focus specifically on the trials of Tarya Gratar, so you'll know exactly what to expect. Don't worry though, the trials of Tarya Gratar does not contain any timed elements. Yeah, they know not to make that mistake again of having timed in-game stuff. That pretty much ruined the in-game at the start. But I'm eager to see what is this new dedicated in-game, and I think that's pretty cool that they have created something specifically for the DLC to be the in-game. They could have just dialed it in and just added more regular expeditions and called it a day, but the fact that they're taking the time to specifically create something for this is pretty good. But you know, let's hold out a little to see what it is first, because it could be something very similar to what we already got, and then this would be pointless. But they really wanted to drive home the Tarya Gratar name. In this, they repeated it multiple times. They want you to remember that, so remember that name. Is probably going to be important to what's going on in the cradle of the Pax civilization. Let me know down in the comments what you guys would want for in-game and Outriders in general, not just in the DLC, but what would be a good in-game addition for Outriders. And to close things out of the reveal event, they're actually having 2 closed betas. I think the first is scheduled April 29th, and they're only letting in like 2,500 players, and you got to have like 50+ hours playing Outriders on Xbox. And beta 2 is planned to run later in May or June. So if you guys are interested in trying to get into that, I'll have the link down below in the description or the comments, one of the two. But at this point, it's probably definitely too late to get in the first beta. But I would still sign up if you want to have a shot at getting into that second beta. I think I signed up, but I knew I wasn't gonna get picked, because I primarily played, not even primarily played, I exclusively played Outriders on PlayStation. So my PlayStation playtime would not show up on this. They would see my application and be like, man, this guy didn't even play the game. Why is he signing up for our beta? But I would have loved to check out the beta next week. That'd have been great. But yeah, hopefully the beta runs well and we get some information out of that. It might be one of those betas where you have to sign an NDA and you can't really discuss what's going on or show what's going on. But I hope it's not like that. Hope everybody that's in it get to show us what they played and give us their opinions on it, because that's what I want to hear about. I don't want to just hear from the content creators that partnered with to talk about it, or only hear about it through their actual events. I want to hear about it from normal people like you and me, you know, see what their opinions on it is. So yeah, that's the info dump from the Worldslayer event. I'm pretty excited about all this info. Low key, I feel like this will definitely bring Outriders back from the dead, but for how long from the dead, I'm not sure. It could be for a while, could be for a couple of weeks. It just depends on how all the new mechanics work together and how much stuff get changed for that was already in the game. You know, people don't like change all the time. Change isn't always good to some people. They might see these new systems as just something to make them have to grind more in the game. I already know people are gonna be mad they having to pay $40 for the DLC. I think it's $40. I think some people will see that as pretty steep for the DLC. It's basically buying a whole new game at this point. But I feel like, in a way, they're changing Outriders into a whole new game with all the stuff they're adding. You know, new classes, new weapons, new armor, new progression, skill trees, all that type of stuff. It's pretty much a new game, new story, new end game. They done made a whole new game. Kind of surprised they didn't hold some of this stuff back for the next actual game, but I guess they feel like they're better off releasing some of it now so they can work out the bugs. And I appreciate that. I would rather them get the kinks out now instead of releasing all of this with their new game and having to figure it out then and reworking it all then. You know, I feel like that's like one of the problems Destiny would face all the time. They'll add all these new mechanics at the start of a game, or no. They will add all these new mechanics and then work out the kinks. And then when the next game came out, they had to do it all over again. You know, they had to build it all over again to get the game where they wanted to be. So I would rather them figure it out now. So when the next game drop, they don't have to start all the way over. I don't want them to go on that cycle that Destiny has had to face. I need them to just go ahead and get it out the way, figure it out. So when we get to that second game, we're just good to go. But yeah, I think we got what, 2 months before this expansion drops. I assume we're gonna get a lot of info about it in the upcoming couple of weeks, probably, unless they wait until like a month before and just start dropping a lot of info. But either way, we're in for a good bit of Outriders news. Like they said, stay tuned to their socials for more info drops throughout the weeks. Shoot, you can even check us out here. I'm sure I would talk more about the things they're talking about as I see it. Let me know down in the comments if you guys want me to keep up with all the Outriders info. You know, like I said, we was the #1 Outriders community in the world, in the galaxy, the universe, all of that when Outriders first dropped. So I would love to go back to playing some Outriders, covering some Outriders. I'm definitely going to play it some more leading up to the release of the DLC, because I'm most likely going to get it to jump back in. It gives me a reason to finally go back and play it. I always wanted to play it again. I just didn't have a reason other than trying to get that platinum trophy. I think I'm like a trophy or 2 away. That's another thing. Are they adding more trophies to the game? I might have to go ahead and try to get that platinum before the DLC get added. It might add more trophies to that. I'm going to definitely look into that. So yeah, let me know how you guys feel about the Worldslayer reveal. Is it living up to what you expected it to be? Are you holding your doubts about it? Do you have any concerns? How you feel about that $40 price point? Let me know down below in the comments. And if you guys enjoyed the video, be sure to leave a like, subscribe, share, and check back here daily for more content from us on the Sticks. Thanks.